और इस बीच बड़ी खबर इजराइल और हमास के मोर्चे पर भी आ रही है। इजराइल ने पिछले 2 दिनों में गाजा में भीषण हमले किए हैं। 2 महीने से शांत थी फिजा, लेकिन बारूदी धमाकों से, तबाही से एक बार फिर वहां जबरदस्त बमबारी हुई है। हम उसके बारे में आपको विस्तार से बताएंगे। कहा यह जा रहा है कि 400 से ज्यादा लोग, ये गाजा में कहा जा रहा है 400 से ज्यादा लोग कल की बमबारी में मारे गए हैं, 500 से ज्यादा घायल हो चुके हैं। और इस समय जो इजराइल के राजदूत है भारत में, एम्बेसडर र्यूवन अजार, वो मेरे साथ है। एम्बेसडर, वेलकम ऑन आज तक। एम्बेसडर, व्हाट एक्सप्लेन्स, नमस्ते, व्हाट एक्सप्लेन्स दिस सडन एस्केलेशन?
Well, the ceasefire, the temporary ceasefire that we had has long passed, and Hamas has refused and rejected the proposals of the American mediators to bring back our hostages and renounce power in the Gaza Strip. We have waited for a long time. We cannot continue with the situation in which they have their hostages and they are not releasing them. And we decided to go back to push military pressure in order to get our hostages back and get finally a diplomatic solution for this conflict.
तो आप ये कह रहे हैं आज तक पे हमारे दर्शकों से कि सीज फायर बढ़ाया नहीं गया हमास की तरफ से और इसीलिए आप अपने युद्धबंदियों को वापस लाना चाहते हैं। बट the escalation and the scale of escalation, you've had 400 fatalities on the other side, and they're not Hamas. So, and that too in Ramzan.
Actually,
you're saying all 400 who are dead are Hamas.
Unfortunately, the Hamas leaders are hiding behind civilians. They are taking out their uniforms. They are blending into the civilian population, and they're using the civilian population as human shields. We have said that in the past. They have been abusing all the codes of humanity in order to survive in the Gaza Strip. This is not going to play for them. We have the resolution to defeat these terrorists. They have to leave the Gaza Strip. They have to let the Palestinian population to move on. They are holding hostage not just the Israeli hostages. They are holding hostages the entire Palestinian population. They deserve a better future.
ये बड़ी बात आप कह रहे हैं कि हमास के आतंकवादी जो है वो गाजा पट्टी में फिलिस्तीन के लोगों को भी उन्होंने बंधक बनाया है। बट एम्बेसडर, you've also told people, Israel's told people to move towards central Gaza. Now, is Israel creating a larger buffer zone or Israel asking people to just leave the Gaza Strip completely?
Well, no. The people, Israel is not asking the Palestinians to leave Gaza completely. What we are doing is we are creating the conditions that if Hamas doesn't accept the American proposals, we are going to take over the territory, we are going to clean up the Gaza Strip, we are going to get in charge of the humanitarian assistance, because what is happening now is that Hamas is using the humanitarian assistance that is being given free of charge by the international community. They are sequestrating that, selling it to the population in order to control the population. And that's how they keep their government in the Gaza Strip. So if they don't cooperate with diplomacy, bring back the hostages, leave the Gaza Strip, we will have to go in, take over the territory, be in charge of the humanitarian assistance ourselves.
That's a big, big story that you're giving us on here on Aaj Tak and on India Today. आप ये कह रहे हैं कि अगर गाजा से लोग सेंट्रल गाजा में नहीं गए, so Israel will move into Gaza Strip. Are you saying you'll move into Gaza Strip right from the Israel-Gaza border all the way down to the Egyptian border, all the way down to Khan Yunis, all those areas?
That's a possibility. We prefer to refrain from doing it. We can achieve a diplomatic solution, but Hamas has to face the fact that they have been defeated. If they don't face that fact, and they continue to be stubborn to stay, we'll have no choice but to enter the entire territory.
तो आज तक पर बड़ी बात इस समय कर रहे हैं इजराइल के राजदूत जो भारत में है, वो ये कह रहे हैं कि अगर हमास नहीं निकला गाजा पट्टी से तो इजराइल की सेना एक बार फिर पूरी तरह से गाजा पट्टी के अंदर घुसेगी और अगर जरूरत पड़ी तो पूरे दक्षिण तक, इजिप्ट के बॉर्डर तक वो जाएंगे। कोशिश है ना जाना पड़े, लेकिन वो वहां पर कंट्रोल करेंगे। यू विल कंट्रोल गाजा स्ट्रिप, शुड देयर बी अ रिक्वायरमेंट, यू विल डिस्ट्रीब्यूट एड एंड नॉट हमास। दैट्स द पॉइंट यू आर मेकिंग।
Nobody in the international community is going to come to reconstruct the Gaza Strip while Hamas is holding the grip of power in the Gaza Strip. That has to be very clear. Nobody is going to fight Hamas rather than Israel. And therefore, there are two options here. Either Hamas chooses the way of diplomacy, brings back the hostages, renounce power, leave the Gaza Strip, and if they refuse, Israel will have to go in and then transfer power to a more moderate leadership, transfer power to international stakeholders that then will be able to help the Palestinian people. How can you help the Palestinian people if all the aid that they are getting is being robbed by Hamas?
Okay, is there a time frame for Israel to do this right now when people are being asked to move to central Gaza and clear the areas of the east and the north?
We are not going to talk about operational considerations, but we are saying it very clearly. There is an alternative for this military operation. We prefer to stop it today. Hamas has to release the hostages today. Hamas has to renounce power today.
हमास को सत्ता से निकलना होगा वरना इजराइल एक बार फिर गाजा पट्टी में अंदर घुसेगा. How many are on board this plan of US President Donald Trump that America will rebuild or international stakeholders will rebuild the Gaza Strip and Palestinians will have to move out? Powers in the region say that's unacceptable.
Nobody's talking about force, removing people by force.
2 million people.
Nobody's talking about forcibly removing people. What the administration has been saying is that we might need, after Hamas is out, we might need a window to rebuild the Gaza Strip because the situation, the conditions are very dire, are very bad. In many places, it's completely unlivable. So, like in other conflicts, when people have left the conflict zone temporarily, like in the Ukraine war,
okay,
like in the Syria war, a lot of people have left. It doesn't mean they cannot come back. So the total rejection of the idea that people can temporarily move out, I think, is a very negative rejection. Why Palestinians should be different from others?
Okay.
They deserve to be treated like people, like human beings. This is what we want to achieve, a situation in which this piece of land that is actually near the Mediterranean Sea, a very good location, it has a great potential. We can build the Gaza Strip to be a good home for the Palestinians. They just have to decide to stop trying to destroy the state of Israel
if Hamas
and concentrate
refuses to
in
leave.
building their own country.
If Hamas refuses to leave, if Hamas says, this is my home, I will stay, I will fight till the end of time, what are options for Israel?
Well, they are going to have to face the full might of the Israeli Defense Forces.
Israel and the United States, those issues that you faced with the Biden administration, is that history now with the Trump administration?
We are in full sync with the American administration. This military operation that we started 2 days ago was completely coordinated with Washington. And I think that there is a common approach here, that if we want to have stability in our region, you have to defeat the radicals. You have to get the radicals to understand that they cannot continuing threatening people in the region. Look what's happening with the Houthis. They are disrupting international trade. They are creating a situation in which billions of dollars of losses, ships, civilian ships are being hijacked. This is completely unacceptable. And we are seeing a new approach from Washington when it comes to this problem. I think that if we work in sync, in a coordinated way, this will send a strong message to those terrorists that want to continue disrupting our lives.
Is there an apprehension this could escalate into a wider regional conflict like it did? Iran bombed you in the past and that led to massive escalation. Is there an apprehension it could lead to another escalation?
I doubt it, and I'll tell you why. Because Israel has already shown that there is a very dear price to pay when we are attacked. We've seen what happened in Lebanon. Hezbollah attacked us. At the end of the day, they were decimated. There is a different political situation in Lebanon today. There is a new government that wants to build Lebanon, that doesn't agree to this policy of Hezbollah to be a place from which Israel is attacked from. So this Iranian agenda is no longer present in Lebanon. We see a change in Syria. We've seen a change even in Iraq. The militias are no longer firing at Israel. Iran has been attacked because we retaliated. So if they decide to renew their attacks, they're going to face a very dear price from us, possibly from the United States. So that's why I'm very skeptical that this very focused conflict can spread into a much wider one.
That's another very big point you're making here, Ambassador, for joining me here on Aaj Tak in India today. Many thanks. बड़ी बात कह रहे हैं इजराइल के राजदूत। वो ये कह रहे हैं कि हमास को गाजा पट्टी से निकलना होगा, नहीं निकला तो हमला और तेज होगा। इजराइल की सेना अंदर भी जा सकती है, वहां पर इजराइल अपना सत्ता को काबिज होगा ताकि वो हमास को पूरी तरह से निकाल सके। अगर ईरान ने मदद की हमास की तो न केवल इजराइल हमला करेगा, उम्मीद उन्हें यह भी है कि हमला अमेरिका की तरफ से भी हो सकता है ईरान पर, और इसीलिए उनको यह लगता है कि ईरान इसमें फिर नहीं शामिल होगा।